True strength does not begin with the body. It begins with the mind. Long before you ever take that bold step, long before you face the storm, the battle is already decided in your thoughts. Your mind is the command center of your life. Every decision you make, every word you speak, every step you take, flows from what you believe about yourself deep inside. A strong woman understands this truth. If she wins in her mind, she can win anywhere. If she loses in her mind, she will be defeated before she even begins. Strength of mind is not built overnight. It's not something you stumble upon one morning and suddenly have. It is forged in the small, quiet moments when no one is watching. It is built in the times you choose faith over fear, hope over despair, and action over hesitation. You may not even realize it, but every time you push through doubt, you are training your mind to be stronger. Every time you refuse to believe the lies that say you're not enough, you are strengthening that inner foundation. A strong woman knows that her thoughts are like seeds. What she plants in her mind will grow in her life. If she plants seeds of doubt, she will harvest fear. If she plants seeds of courage, she will harvest victory. This is why she guards her mind as fiercely as she guards her heart. She is careful about the voices she listens to, the words she repeats to herself, and the beliefs she allows to take root. Because she understands that her outer life will never rise higher than her inner thinking. But let me tell you, it's not that she never hears the voice of doubt. It's that she refuses to let it have the final word. She might feel fear, but she does not feed it. She may face moments when she questions her ability, but she trains her mind to look for solutions instead of surrendering to problems. She has learned that the mind will believe what you tell it most often, so she chooses her words carefully. She speaks life over herself even when life doesn't seem fair. Strength in the mind also comes from clarity. A strong woman is clear about who she is and what she stands for. She doesn't drift aimlessly, hoping the world will define her. She defines herself. She knows her values, her boundaries, and her goals. This mental clarity keeps her steady when the winds of opinion blow against her. She can listen to others without being swayed from her convictions, because she has already decided who she will be and how she will live. And this mental strength shows up in how she faces challenges. She doesn't crumble at the first sign of trouble. She doesn't give up because the road gets steep. In fact, difficulty sharpens her. The harder the challenge, the more determined she becomes. Her mind has been trained to see setbacks not as proof she can't succeed, but as opportunities to grow stronger. She understands that storms do not last forever, but the lessons they leave behind can shape a lifetime. Now, here's the truth. Life will test the strength of your mind over and over again. There will be people who underestimate you, situations that break your heart, and moments when giving up will seem easier than pressing forward. But in those moments, your mind becomes your greatest weapon. When your thoughts tell you, you can't do this, you must have trained your mind to answer back, watch me. Every strong woman you admire has faced moments of deep fear, crushing loss, and overwhelming uncertainty. But what sets her apart is that she didn't let her circumstances dictate her mindset. She kept her mind focused on the outcome she desired, not the obstacle in front of her. She believed in the possibility of victory even when all she could see was defeat. And because her mind refused to quit, her body and her spirit followed. So remember this, true strength is invisible at first. It lives quietly in the decisions you make when no one is there to cheer you on. It is built in the way you talk to yourself, the thoughts you choose to keep, and the beliefs you refuse to surrender. If you can master your mind, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can break you. Fear is something we all feel. It comes in many forms. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of loss, fear of the unknown. A strong woman is not immune to it. She feels it just like anyone else. The difference is, she refuses to let fear dictate the direction of her life. She does not run from it, hide from it, or pretend it doesn't exist. She faces it head on, understanding that fear is not a sign of weakness, but a signal that something important is at stake. When she encounters fear, she pauses, she breathes, and she examines it. She asks herself, why does this scare me? Is it because it threatens my comfort, or because it challenges me to grow? She knows that many of life's greatest opportunities hide behind a wall of fear, and the only way to reach them is to walk straight through it. She does not allow fear to be the driver of her decisions. Instead, she keeps it in the passenger seat, acknowledging its presence, but never handing it the wheel. It's not that she never feels the urge to retreat. Oh, she does. She has moments where her knees shake, her heart races, and her mind whispers, "Turn back." But she has trained herself to recognize that fear often appears right before a breakthrough. She understands that if she waits for the fear to disappear before taking action, she will wait her entire life. So she moves forward anyway, carrying fear with her, but never allowing it to chain her down. Mastering fear doesn't mean eliminating it. It means learning how to use it. She takes the energy fear produces and channels it into focus, into preparation, into determination. Instead of letting it paralyze her, she lets it sharpen her senses, making her more alert and ready for whatever comes next. She reframes the trembling in her heart as excitement, the uncertainty in her mind as possibility. In doing so, she transforms fear from an enemy into an unlikely ally. She also knows that fear thrives in silence, so she speaks truth to it. She challenges the lies that fear tries to whisper, that she's not ready, not good enough, not strong enough. She replaces those lies with words that remind her of who she is and what she's capable of. She understands that fear feeds on the stories we tell ourselves, so she changes the narrative. Instead of saying, "I can't handle this," she says, "I am built for this." And over time, that repeated truth rewires her response until courage becomes her natural state. There is a quiet courage in her daily life that many overlook. Courage isn't always a grand, dramatic act. It's the decision to make that phone call, to have that hard conversation, to apply for that opportunity, to walk into a room where you feel out of place. It's showing up again after you've failed. It's loving again after you've been hurt. A strong woman knows these moments are where the real battles are won, and she chooses to fight them with her head held high. She also understands that fear is often the shadow of something meaningful. You don't fear what doesn't matter to you. You fear losing something valuable or stepping into something life-changing. So she takes fear as a clue, a guidepost pointing her toward the very things she needs to pursue. If her dreams don't scare her at least a little, she knows she's not dreaming big enough. And when fear does creep in, and it always will, she doesn't isolate herself. She seeks out voices that lift her up, environments that remind her of her strength, and perspectives that help her see beyond the moment. She knows that fear shrinks when exposed to light, and she refuses to let it grow in the dark corners of her mind. At the end of the day, the difference between living a life of courage and a life of regret often comes down to one thing: whether you let fear stop you or move you. A strong woman makes her choice every single day. And her choice is to keep moving forward, heart pounding, hands trembling, because she knows that fear might visit, but it will never rule her. There comes a point in a woman's life when she decides, deep within herself, that her value is not up for discussion. She understands her worth is not something another person can give her, and it's certainly not something they can take away. It isn't based on her relationship status, her job title, her income, or her appearance. It is anchored in the undeniable truth of who she is. A strong woman does not wait for someone else to validate her existence. She walks with the quiet confidence of knowing she already matters. This doesn't mean she never faced times when her worth was questioned. In fact, many strong women have endured seasons where they were overlooked, underestimated, or even treated as if they were replaceable. But those experiences only served to reinforce one lesson: no one else has the authority to define her. She learned that if she allowed the opinions of others to set her value, she would spend her life negotiating for scraps of respect. And she refuses to live that way. She carries herself differently because of this. It's in the way she says no without apology, the way she chooses relationships that honor her, the way she refuses to settle for less than she deserves. She knows that saying yes to something that violates her worth is too high a price to pay. Even if it costs her an opportunity, even if it costs her the approval of people she once thought she needed, she is willing to walk away. You see, she has learned that people who truly respect her worth will never ask her to bargain for it. They will never make her feel like she has to earn their kindness or prove her right to be treated well. And if someone cannot see her value, she does not waste her life trying to convince them. She simply removes herself from spaces that cannot hold her with the respect she deserves. A strong woman understands that worth is not arrogance, it's self-respect. It's not about thinking she is better than others. It's about knowing she is not less than anyone. She can celebrate the success of another woman without feeling threatened because she is secure in her own lane. She doesn't need to compete for her place in the world. Her place already exists, and she stands in it firmly. This kind of unshakable worth also shapes the way she dreams. She doesn't set small goals just to play it safe. She gives herself permission to aim higher, to step into spaces that once felt out of reach, because she believes she belongs there just as much as anyone else. She does not shrink herself to fit into the comfort zone of others. She understands that playing small does not serve her, and it does not serve the world. And perhaps most importantly, she knows that her worth remains intact even when she makes mistakes. She does not confuse failure with failure of identity. She can get it wrong, stumble, fall, and still stand tall in the knowledge that she is enough. She can hear criticism without crumbling because her sense of value doesn't depend on constant praise. Her worth is also deeply connected to her boundaries. She draws them clearly not to push people away, but to protect her peace. She knows she cannot pour from an empty cup, so she does not feel guilty for taking time to rest, to heal, to recharge. And when someone tries to cross those boundaries, she stands her ground, not with anger, but with certainty. In a world that constantly tries to tell women they are not enough unless they meet impossible standards, she becomes her own reminder that she is already enough. She does not chase acceptance by compromising her principles. She does not stay silent when her dignity is at stake. She does not offer discounts on her soul. She is willing to be misunderstood, even disliked, if it means staying true to herself. Because at the end of the day, she understands that the moment she starts negotiating her worth, she will lose herself piece by piece, and she has decided she is not for sale. Resilience is not born out of comfort. It is forged in the fires of pain, disappointment, and loss. A strong woman understands this. She knows that the most valuable lessons and the deepest strength are not gained when everything goes right, but when life leaves marks on her, marks that tell a story of battles fought and survived. Scars are not signs of weakness, they are proof of endurance. They are reminders that she has been through the storm and is still standing. She remembers the nights when her heart felt like it was breaking into pieces, when the weight of life was almost too much to bear, and when she wasn't sure she could take another step forward. She remembers feeling lost, uncertain, and worn down. But in those moments, when she had nothing left but a small flicker of hope, she chose to keep moving. She didn't always move fast, and sometimes she stumbled, but she kept going. That persistence is what carved resilience into her soul. She understands that resilience doesn't mean you never feel the pain. It means you feel it fully, but you refuse to let it define you. She has cried, she has struggled, she has doubted, but she has also risen each time, carrying with her the wisdom that only hardship can give. Easy victories never taught her as much as her failures did. The smooth paths never shaped her character like the rough roads did. It was the challenges she didn't think she could survive that ended up becoming the very foundation of her strength. Every scar she carries has a story. Some are from mistakes she made, others from circumstances beyond her control, and still others from people who hurt her. But instead of hiding them, she has learned to embrace them. She knows that scars don't ruin her beauty. They add to it. They are proof that she was tested, and she didn't break. They are evidence that she has been refined, not destroyed, by life's trials. There's a certain quiet power in someone who has been through pain and still chooses kindness, who has faced betrayal and still chooses to trust again, who has been knocked down and still chooses to rise. That is the kind of power that cannot be faked, and it cannot be given. It must be earned through lived experience. Resilience is not something someone can hand you. It is something you build brick by brick, often when no one else sees the work you're doing just to stay afloat. She has learned to see setbacks differently. While others may see an ending, she sees an opportunity for transformation. She understands that the road to becoming stronger is paved with moments of breaking, because it is in the breaking that you learn how to rebuild. And every time she rebuilds, she does it better, stronger, and wiser than before. When life knocks her down, she doesn't pretend it didn't hurt. She doesn't wear a mask to convince the world she's unaffected. She allows herself the space to feel, to heal, to process. But she never stays down. She understands that staying down means surrendering to defeat, and that is something she will never accept. She may rest, but she will always rise. And when she rises, she carries with her more than just survival. She carries perspective. She knows firsthand that someone's outer smile can hide an inner battle. This makes her more compassionate, more understanding, and more willing to help others find their way through their own storms. Her scars have taught her empathy, and her empathy has made her an anchor for others who are struggling. It is easy to celebrate the victories, but she knows that it's the losses that built her. Every challenge she faced demanded a choice: give up or grow. And she chose growth again and again, even when it hurt. That choice is what makes her unshakable today, because in the end, she knows that resilience is not the absence of hardship. It is the art of rising because of it. Growth is not something that happens by accident. It is not the result of luck or the passing of time. A strong woman knows that growth is a deliberate choice, a choice she must make every single day, even when the easy path calls to her, even when it would be simpler to stay where she is. She chooses the harder road that stretches her, challenges her, and pushes her beyond what feels comfortable. She understands that comfort may feel safe, but it rarely leads to transformation. She knows the pull of comfort well. It's the voice that says, "You've done enough, stay here," or "Why take the risk when things are fine as they are?" But she also knows that fine is the enemy of fulfilled. She refuses to settle for a life that is simply okay when she has the potential to create something extraordinary. Comfort is a nice resting place, but it is not where she chooses to live. Her growth is intentional. She reads, she learns, she listens to perspectives that challenge her thinking. She asks hard questions, even of herself. She faces truths about her own flaws and weaknesses, not to tear herself down, but to build herself stronger. She understands that self-awareness is the foundation of personal growth, and she refuses to hide from the parts of herself that still need work. And growth is not always glamorous. Sometimes it means waking up earlier to work on a dream when no one is watching. Sometimes it means having uncomfortable conversations that bring clarity instead of clinging to false peace. Sometimes it means letting go of relationships, habits, or opportunities that no longer align with the person she is becoming. Growth often feels like loss at first, but she has learned that it is simply making space for something greater. She is willing to fail, not because she enjoys the sting of failure, but because she understands that every failure teaches her something success never could. She is willing to look foolish for trying something new, because she knows the people who mock her will one day be the ones asking how she did it. She has learned to see each setback not as a dead end, but as a redirection toward a better path. The choice to grow is rarely convenient. It often requires sacrifice. It may mean giving up free time, putting in extra effort, or saying no to things that bring instant gratification in favor of long-term reward. But she does it anyway, because she knows that the discomfort of growth is temporary, while the regret of staying the same can last a lifetime. She surrounds herself with people who push her forward, not those who keep her in place. She understands the power of environment, and she chooses to be around those who inspire her, challenge her, and hold her accountable to her goals. She has no interest in being the smartest person in the room. She seeks out spaces where she can be stretched, where she can learn, where she can be sharpened. Growth is also a matter of resilience. She knows there will be days she doesn't feel like trying, days when she wants to give up, days when progress feels too slow. But she reminds herself that consistency matters more than speed. The small steps taken daily will always outrun the occasional leaps made in bursts of motivation. She keeps her vision in front of her. She knows who she wants to become and understands that the gap between who she is now and who she is meant to be will only close if she makes the choice, day after day, to take action. That choice is not always exciting. Sometimes it is repetitive, exhausting, or even lonely. But she trusts the process because she has seen how each small choice compounds into remarkable transformation. In the end, she knows that comfort will never lead her to her fullest potential. And so, no matter how tempting it is to stay where she is, she chooses growth every single time. A strong woman understands that boundaries are not about shutting people out, they are about letting the right people in. She does not see them as rigid walls, but as gates. Gates she controls, gates she opens with trust, and gates she closes when her peace is at risk. She knows that her time, energy, and emotional well-being are valuable, and she guards them with intention. Without boundaries, even the kindest heart can be drained until there is nothing left to give. She has learned that saying yes to everything and everyone is not kindness. It is self-neglect. There was a time she may have stretched herself too thin, giving until she was empty, trying to please people who would never truly be satisfied. But experience has taught her that protecting her peace is not selfish. It is essential. If she is to show up for others with love and strength, she must first preserve the space where her own soul can breathe. Her boundaries are not based on fear or mistrust. They are built on self-respect. She doesn't push people away without reason, but she also doesn't invite chaos into her life under the disguise of loyalty. She understands that some people bring light, while others bring constant storms, and it is her responsibility to decide which she will allow to enter her space. Not everyone who wants access to her should have it, and she does not feel guilty for making that choice. When she sets a boundary, it is clear and firm. She doesn't create them to punish others, but to protect what matters most to her, her mental clarity, her emotional health, her values. She communicates them with confidence, not hostility, because she knows her worth doesn't need to be defended with anger. And when someone crosses those boundaries, she doesn't beg them to understand. She simply enforces them and moves forward. She is also wise enough to know that boundaries work both ways. Just as she sets limits on what she will accept, she respects the limits of others. She understands that healthy relationships require mutual respect, and she would never demand from someone else what she would not allow them to demand from her. This mutual honoring of space creates deeper trust and more genuine connection. Her boundaries also give her the freedom to focus on what truly matters. Without them, her life could easily become a constant reaction to other people's demands, expectations, and problems. But because she is intentional about where her energy goes, she has room for her passions, her growth, her rest. She does not live in constant exhaustion because she is not afraid to close the gate when the noise outside threatens her inner calm. And make no mistake, these gates are not always easy to maintain. There are times when she feels the pull to lower them, to give in for the sake of avoiding conflict, to keep the peace at the cost of her own peace. But she reminds herself that true harmony cannot exist if she is constantly sacrificing her own needs. She has learned to stand in the discomfort of saying no, knowing that temporary unease is better than long-term resentment. She has also discovered that boundaries reveal the truth about relationships. The people who truly care for her will respect them without question. The ones who only valued what they could take from her will push against them. And though it can be painful to see who falls into which category, she welcomes the clarity it brings. Boundaries have a way of filtering out the people who were never meant to stay. There is a strength in her that comes from knowing she is not obligated to carry everyone's burdens or meet everyone's expectations. She chooses where to invest her heart, and she chooses with wisdom. Her gates are always open to love, respect, and authenticity, but they will close without hesitation to manipulation, disrespect, or toxicity. Because at the end of the day, she understands that her peace is priceless, and no one has the right to take it from her without her permission. No matter what storms you face, remember that your strength begins in your mind, is refined through courage, and is protected by knowing your worth. Your scars are proof of your resilience. Your growth is a choice you make daily, and your boundaries are the gates that guard your peace. Carry these truths with you, and you will stand unshakable in every season of life.